but he was off to a good start in training camp, and there's still a lot of football left after 8 to 12 weeks in the season, so we anticipate him being back and ready to go for us at some point.
Surgery tomorrow?
I believe so.
What's the trickle-down effect? Who gets bumped up? Do you move Byron Crawford goes over now, or Arthez moves up? How do you handle that?
Well, again, none of these things that we're doing with our depth charts are etched in stone by any means. He had been working with the second unit, and we have a number of defensive linemen, a lot of defensive ends in the mix right now, so we'll just move guys around. We're not setting a depth chart. We're not setting starters, backups, third-team guys. It's just who they're working with, and they've worked with different groups at different spots, so we'll continue to do that.
Marinelli mentioned the possibility of Kyle Wilbur as a nickel rusher. What do you like about that possibility, and what are the challenges for him going from starting at Sam to coming down on third down?
Well, just that. There are a number of players around the league who do this, depending on the scheme. You'll see some linebackers in 3-4 sets become defensive ends in 4-down nickel situations. So it's somewhat similar to that. Our basic part of our scheme, though, is he's an off-the-ball linebacker. Sometimes in certain fronts he'll play on the line of scrimmage, so there might be a little bit of a carryover there. But the essence of it is you try to tap into some of those pass rushing skills that we liked in him coming out. He's done a really nice job at that off-the-ball Sam linebacker position. I think he's growing there. He's a very good special teams player, and to add this ability to help us on third down as a pass rusher really just makes him a very valuable commodity for us. And he just has to work at that. He has to somehow allocate time to developing some of those skills, but we feel like he has a chance to be pretty good at that.
Where does he see it? I mean, in the NFL these days against the Sam linebacker, it's kind of been somewhat marginalized. Down, and it's just a way just to get him on the field as much as possible.
Yeah, and certain teams you'll play where that Sam linebacker, or in our case, just 3 linebackers will play a lot based on the personnel they'll use, and then other games that player plays less, and it does give him a chance to play in some of those nickel situations, have a role that hopefully we feel like he can grow into and be pretty effective doing it for us.
Jason Evans, Tyron Smith, is not even 24 years old yet. Having him locked in for 8 years, how good do you feel about that?
Well, we talk about building a program and building a football team, and he was the first player that we took 3 years ago in that draft, and he's just been everything we've wanted to build this program and this team around. He was a really young player who we put in really on minute 1 of day 1, and he's everything that we thought he was going to be, both physically, intangibly, and just as a person. His work ethic is fantastic. His mental and physical toughness are as good as I've been around, and he just continues to grow and develop as a player. Technically, he's getting better, he's getting bigger and stronger, and he's just tough, competitive. He's what you want on your football team at a really, really important position. And like you said, he's still a young man. He's played a lot of football for us already.
Obviously, you took him with the top 10 pick. You thought he'd be good. Has he been even better than you might have thought?
Well, the draft, as everyone knows, is a difficult process because you're projecting players from the college level to the pro level. But one of the things that we think about a lot is if you take guys with big school guys with the right measurables, who are the right kind of guys who have college production, you're giving yourself a pretty good chance of getting a good player. And he fits all of those categories, and he has a great passion for playing football, a great passion for improving. And on draft day, you're optimistic about the players you take, particularly that high in the draft. But when you see them develop as quickly as he has into the kind of leader and the kind of player you want, not only for your team but for your program, it's really satisfying. And he's someone we can point to as an example for what we want going forward, and he's a cornerstone player in this franchise.
Do you view the offensive line as perhaps the biggest strength of this team?
Well, I think we have a great chance to make it the strength of our team. We've allocated resources here in 3 of the last 4 drafts to bolster that offensive line. You've heard me talk about it before. We had a really, really good offensive line 6-7 years ago with some veteran players who were some of the best players, at their position in this league. But, they got older and we had to move on. And there was a transition period that we went through as a team where it's difficult to replace 5 guys and get back to where you need to be in a short period of time. So it took us some time to do that. We've allocated resources. We really feel like in a lot of ways the offensive line is the heartbeat of a football team. And if you look back at some of the great teams in the history of this league and the history of this franchise, there were always great offensive linemen and great offensive line units. And when you have those guys, you can be physical when you need to be physical, particularly in our division, particularly at the end of ball games, particularly at the end of the season, and that can really positively impact the rest of your team. The quarterback will play better, the receivers will play better, obviously the runner will play better, and the defense will play better when you're good on the offensive line. So we've made a very conscious effort as a franchise and organization to do that, and we feel like we're starting to see that group really develop and become the strength of this football team.
Jason, Kyron played right tackle in SC and made that adjustment